Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back by another sourcing webinar with today's guest, José or José Kadlec. Super honored to have you today, José. Personally, I definitely look up to José. What you've been able to achieve, how many things you've already done in the recruitment industry. Very strong technical background as well, and now presenting today some of your learnings here with us. I will give you a full introduction into your background, and then you can take over. I'm Adrian. I'm Adrian Kool, co-founder and CEO of Matcher. Very strong focus on sourcing, and we're very happy that some of the best sourcing and recruitment leaders in the world, I must say, are willing to share their free knowledge with us today. Today, to give you a little bit of background for the people that don't know José yet, used to be a former engineer. Can you imagine? We had Mark Dubel. I thought he was the only one, but José as well. Ethical hacker even. I remember one time at Sourcing Summit, he created a fake Wi-Fi network that everyone logged into, and then he got all the data from all the people there. Started in 2007. I don't think sourcing was even in a dictionary back then, but you already started to really develop the sourcing function in that sense. Founder of Good Call, Data Recruit, ATS, and Recruitment Academy. Good Call is in, what place are we, José, in fastest growing companies in Europe? Number 400 or something? Right? Yep. Awarded by Financial Times. Yeah, absolutely incredible achievement. First LinkedIn pro in the CEE region. You wrote a book, People as Merchandise, which I think is one of the first sourcing books out there, and now a regular host at Social Talent as well. And besides that, exploring blockchain, likes beer, and is into kickboxing. Right, José? I mean, there's so many things.
Thank you very much, Adrian. Thank you. My pleasure to be here. Hello, everybody. I will probably dive into the content, right?
Yeah, perfect. What I'll do, José, so I will moderate the chat. So if you have any questions, just put them in the chat. If they're too urgent to see, I will interrupt José directly in his story, and otherwise I will collect them to ask at the end. So please, ask any questions. That's absolutely fine.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Where to start? This presentation will be about like 5 trends, but it will be 5 trends I actually see happening now on the market, even from the perspective of the business. And maybe it will be quite unusual for some people. No hacks this time, no fake Wi-Fi's, no GSM hacks, nothing like that. But I will not be diving into one topic deep. I will go over those 5 trends, but stay tuned. There will be, as always, some tools, maybe some books as well, tips and tricks, etc. So maybe if you wonder about like the future of sourcing, etc., maybe you might be thinking, okay, so there is, for example, some experience learning platform in the VR where you can actually train how to fire people. So suddenly these technologies are coming to recruitment as well. We can talk robots. We heard a lot about automation. Even here in this series of webinar, Adrian got a perfect presentation about Integromat. Shelley also about Microsoft Power Automate. So robots, there is a thing unbiased, things like that. Maybe if you heard about Unreal Engine, maybe if you are into esports and games, you might heard of Unreal Engine. It's here since, I don't know, 1999, something like that. And here we can actually create, and we are working with that on creating a digital footprint, or let's say digital image of a recruiter, which you can store in the ATS. And whenever you want to create, for example, some custom message to a candidate, you can do that software-wise without actually having the real recruiter somewhere in front of camera, etc. That's already it can already be real. Face recognition, which you know from everyday usage, for example, of Facebook. When you upload a picture to Facebook, there is actually the whole database where Facebook actually stores our faces there, so it can be automatically recognized. We actually created this device. It's like a small device. It's like a camera. You can take a shot. You can take a picture of a person, and it's compared against the LinkedIn database. So, for example, here, this is Peter. He was actually MC at one recruitment conference, and he actually took a selfie of himself. And as you can see here down below, it recognized him from 98.2% that it's Peter Skondrianis, and he works in Kokuma as a human relations consultant. Yeah, so imagine when we are able to do this here in, let's say, recruitment agency slash academy slash recruitment software company, what are the big players able to do with million and billion of dollars actually coming to this industry? I would say even if the future is now, and a lot of these things, including, for example, the face recognition, which if you have some use case for that, there can be some smart timesheets, for example, etc. If you have any use case for that, you can do that. You can do that right now, but probably your like daily life of a sourcer or a daily life of a sourcing team, a recruitment team. I guess there are not only sourcers here, but maybe recruiters having their own sourcers or 360-degree recruiters. The future, or the current moment of what's happening might be, let's say, more modest than this VR AI. And if you don't know how to make it modern, put a blockchain there. But it will be definitely more modest, and I will show you what I mean by that. As it was mentioned already, I actually started as a software engineer, somehow ended up in recruitment because I saw the kind of potential there to make some disruption on the market, but the disruption is not coming only over technology, but also over scale. That's why there are these three companies I co-founded, and we want to have an impact, and the impact is coming with the scale. That's why we are still hiring, etc. So the point number one, talent mapping for better efficiency. I'm maybe for the past year or two, I'm heavily asked by companies to actually prepare a market mapping for their sourcers and recruiters and for their management. So imagine there is a company and they plan, for example, to open a branch somewhere in Europe. Maybe they already have branches across the Europe, but they want to open a new position, but they don't know where, because they don't know how many people are there, for example, in Germany or in the Netherlands or in Ukraine, etc. Yeah, so we can see this as a trend, and we started a new service. Yeah, that's why I'm actually even saying this, that it's actually happening. Company are asking for that. And how to do a talent mapping. You can use LinkedIn, of course, because a lot of data is there, but you need to be a little bit data savvy with that. What you can find out? You can definitely find out, for example, top companies where to take the candidates from. Yeah? If you want to see top 10 employers of PHP developers in Romania, yeah, you can do that. If you know how, you can definitely do that. You can map the location with the talent. So if you have, for example, Germany, of course, it's a huge country, and you want to see where it would be ideal position for the branch with, I don't know, Python developers or any sort of technology like that, you can do that. You can map the market, which company uses which technology, because when we see that there are so many Python developers in this company, the company is probably using Python. Yeah, but how to do that on scale? You can find out what's the maturity of those people on the market. Maybe there are 1,000 Python developers, but they are too junior, and it will not. Our needs will not be satisfied, for example, by opening branch there. You can find out who's hiring and who's firing as well. And you can do, for example, foreign language maps as well. One way how to do that is, for example, over LinkedIn Recruiter, where you can actually use the search breakdown. Yeah? So in this case, I'm looking for Azure, the cloud-based technology from Microsoft in Germany, and I can easily see top 10 companies actually employing the highest number of Azure people having Azure in their skills. Yeah, so probably it will have a decent knowledge of that skill when those people have it in skills, not just somewhere on the profile. So I got this. Of course, when you exclude these 10 companies, you can have another 10 companies. So you can create a list of, for example, top 50 companies where to take the people from. So this is information for the recruitment team, acquisition team, and the sourcers, of course, where, for example, they can focus on these companies and take the people from these companies. And of course, this is information for the management as well, because management, I would say, they love this. Yeah, they love this data because it's kind of their competition on the employee level, and they really can work with that. You can go even further into Germany. As we said, Germany, a huge country, and we can see which, like if it's Bavaria, etc., which region actually has the number of these people. With Azure, we can go, for example, into cities within that region. Yeah, so we can see that there are over 1,000 people in Stuttgart, etc. So this can be done based on the data for the position which, let's say, are saturated enough on LinkedIn. And this is easy way what you can do. Here you can see the maturity, so you can see the total years of experience of those people. Of course, sometimes you need to put there some rationale from like the reality, because of course it's mapping the data on LinkedIn. A lot of people could, for example, set up their position in 2008 or 2007. I'm on LinkedIn since 2007, so I could set up their role since 2007, and I have never been there on LinkedIn since then. So of course, I have over 10 years of experience already, but it might not be true. Yeah. So we work with some data scientists, and they, for example, work then in Power BI, for example, and so on. They are working with these data. You can find out, for example, what are the top schools and what is actually the education of those people as well. That's actually expensive account. Yeah, LinkedIn Recruiter, or at least LinkedIn Recruiter RPS, the recruitment, the account for agencies, most likely, it's more expensive. But what you can also use is Sales Navigator. Sales Navigator is quite cheap account. The cheapest one is for 63 euros, something like that. And the great functionality, which is actually not in the most expensive account, is account filters, where you can search for companies. So, for example, in this case, I'm searching in Germany for companies in automotive. So I would like to see a list of companies in automotive, but just the big players, over 10,000 people, not on LinkedIn, but actually this is the parameter which the admin of the administrator of the page have to fill in. Yeah, so this is not the real number of employees on LinkedIn. Yeah. Those companies will have a lot of manufacturer workers, etc. Of course, those people are not on LinkedIn. But what's make it more interesting is the company headcount growth, which I put here minus 10%. So I can see big automotive players in Germany actually losing people for some reasons, maybe firing people, etc. Yeah, you can do the opposite. You can do that they are hiring people, and you can use it and you can map what's happening on the market. And even as a sourcer, you can focus more here on this company, because suddenly you know that for some reason there is this headcount loss there. When you open like one single company, then, for example, with the Sales Navigator, you can see this chart, which is the overall headcount. Actually, this number here, the 10%, actually means in the last 6 months, 1 year, or 2 years. Yeah, it's not precisely just to one of these parameters. If in one of those parameters it's minus 10, you will see the company on the list. So of course, then you need to check here if what's actually the story, yeah? Because we can see that overall growth of this company is actually 6% increase, but in the last 6 and 1 year, actually the company is losing people. And the same thing you can do based on departments. Just you need to watch out. For example, human resources, 20+% up, but there are only 6 people there in the company on LinkedIn. So you can do quite a lot just with LinkedIn. And actually these reports, as I said, which we are producing, this is because they are already, for example, also the specific searching queries, etc. So usually company, they provide it to the talent acquisition team for the direct sourcing, but they provide it also to management to make the decisions where, for example, to open a new branch, open a new role, etc. The number second is sourcing funnels are more sophisticated. What this is all about, maybe now you wonder things like social selling, online marketing, deployment. Maybe you never heard of deployment, but the thing is that, for example, we now experience, and here now I'm based here in Prague and in the Czech Republic, we have actually the second lowest unemployment rate in the whole world, definitely the lowest in Europe. And the problem is that we are kind of in the pre-COVID phase, but even stronger. Yeah, there are absolutely no people on the market. Even if the unemployment rate is somehow slightly higher, but the number of open position is also peaking. Yeah, so now we are in the kind of like unique position from the history perspective with and even like Europe, yeah, with high unemployment rate, relatively high, but on the other hand also high number of open position, which means that there is the skill set of the market is not matching with the position. That's why, and probably you experience it as well, the hunger for tech people, not only programmers, of course, and so on, is really high. And some people and some companies actually realize that, for example, you can be the best sourcer, but if the proposition is not right or there are not so many people on the market, you will simply, you can be the master in searching, but you can do whatever, behavioral searching, semantic searching, whatever you want, but you will not be able to find those people if they are not on the market. So, for example, what we started with Microsoft. Microsoft started in Australia a project they called somehow like Microsoft Academy, and they are actually training people for IT sales. Yeah, and we are copying this project here in the Central Eastern Europe. So the goal of Microsoft, for example, just here in Prague or in the Czech Republic, is to hire hundreds of IT salespeople, which is totally unrealistic from the current point of perspective. You need to produce those people. So what we created is good called Microsoft Academy. We are supplying that with some content. It's sitting on our DataCruit platform, and Good Call is supporting the hires from the attendees of the academy. Yeah, so this was the only way how actually Microsoft has the chance, and in Australia it was really successful. So this is the only chance how to actually prepare the market that you are even able to hire those roles. Tieto, for example, did the similar thing with the Java people. Yeah, for example, here in the region, Tieto is not sitting in the capital; they are sitting in smaller cities, and they have loads of employees. So they have basically nowhere to hire more people. Yeah, so they need to produce them. That's why they are, for example, selling this Java bootcamp, and eventually maybe hire those people after that. Maybe not. Maybe they will be hired by a competition. But that's the deal. Recruitment Academy practically is the same. It's a deployment project where, imagine when we started in 2013, how many sources do you think there were on the market here? There were like zilch, nothing. Yeah, so we needed to create those talent sourcers and eventually recruiters. So that was actually the original purpose of this project. The problem is that, imagine suddenly you say, okay, so we are hiring these, for example, Python developers here. We need this number of them. We want to produce them. So we will start some academy. We will start some webinars. We will start something like that, some educational project to actually produce them. But suddenly you are in online marketing business, maybe for you too far from the classic sourcing where you are expected to be on Stack Overflow, LinkedIn, GitHub, etc., doing the outreach, etc., right? The problem is that when you create, for example, such a project like Microsoft Academy, where actually there is the name Microsoft, but still the people are highly skeptical. Yeah, and of course the credibility of the project is zero. Yeah, so you need to and I will not be explaining here right now, but let's say content things, you need to put them into the position that they will, for example, sign up. But the thing is that suddenly you are in the social selling or online marketing field, even if you wouldn't expect it at the beginning. Yeah, there are things like when you are, for example, selling such academies, maybe you experience the things that there are these free books on the market. They will send you a book, which is a paper book, but it's for shipping only. And there is this systems of these letters where, for example, they will give you the book, then they will hook up you for the home study course, live event, etc. Yeah, I, for example, published this COVID-proof virtual trainer last year, and you can also have it like for free. There is no funnel after that. In this case, that was kind of a spontaneous act for me. I was writing an article and suddenly I published that as a book. But for example, if I can recommend, if you want to be like good with this social selling, selling info products, online products, digital content, courses, etc., I definitely recommend these two books. One by Russell Brunson and the second one by the Australian guy Sabri Sube. And actually you can have these books for free as well in a paper form for shipping only, because those books are part of these funnels as well. If I can recommend some tools, definitely one tool for that might be ClickFunnels, or for landing pages, Lender app, where anybody without any skills of programming can, with local programming, you can create actually a website. Yeah, so we hire people with, let's say, zero technical background, and they are able to create, for example, a custom websites for like some smaller academies or for some webinars, etc. I can definitely recommend, for example, Teachable if you want to build some, for example, some. It might be, for example, like Python Academy. If I repeat Python Academy, so you can build it on Teachable. And if you want to, that's one of the trendy things now about utilizing the personal brand of your employees. I don't mean not just the acquisition team, but all the employees in the company. I'm actually heavily asked for the, I would say, past 2 years by IBM, Accenture, Microsoft actually as well, how they can do this. And there's, for example, smart.com. And the problem is on LinkedIn that when you, as a company, publish content and your employees are actually sharing the content, of course, the organic reach of the content, it's not so great. Yeah? But with Smart, you can create posts into the Smart where your employees have access, and they come to work in the morning and they say, I like this post in Smart. They click on that and it will create a new post. So you can create a whole channel for inbound from the employees of your company by these channels. Yeah, so smart.com actually, for example, I know that Coca-Cola, for example, is using that. Number 3, calculate your sourcing benchmarks. Yeah, everything is kind of connected together. Because imagine this is some commodity buyer position where, for example, as you could see, we needed to long list 92 people to get just 4 people into the funnel who might be interested in the role and who might be actually suitable for the role, which led to 3 interviews, 1 offer, and finally 1 placement. Days to fill something like 30 days. Different positions where, for example, this is a totally I wouldn't say unqualified, but with lower qualification position, financial or insurance advisor, where we actually longlisted purely on LinkedIn. This is purely LinkedIn, over 700 people, and finally got 7 placements. When I put some average numbers on that, we can see that, for example, for us, we need to approach something like 70 people to get that one hire. If you compare it in general, if you compare it with numbers from maybe even from Social Talent, for example, and they have numbers from Western Europe and the USA, or from the numbers by Lou Adler, you will still be somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 to 70, let's say. If you are purely tech company hiring just tech people, you might expect that it might be even 150 or even over 200, especially if you are hiring developers only. Yeah, I know companies here and they have, for example, 300 approached people to get that one hire in general, because they are hiring a lot of programmers, and simply the metrics are there like this. But this is really what you need to know to actually calculate how many candidates you have to approach to the funnel to fill the role. Yeah, because if I connect it with the market mapping, if you see that there are, for example, 500 Python developers in the region, how many was the feasible to fill in within some rational period of time? So you can actually connect these two data together. You can predict if you are able to fill the role or not for yourself, or if you are a recruiter, you can predict it for your sourcers as well. You can spot the bottlenecks in your sourcing process. So you can see the percentages between like the long list and screenings, between screenings, interviews, between offers and placements, and you can see the bottlenecks, and you can solve the things immediately. And of course, if you are like managing the process team, etc., you can efficiently manage the recruitment team by these numbers. But imagine, for example, this is a random recruiter of ours, Peter, and he got over 200 interviews, which led to over 260 presented candidates. The number is higher because, of course, sometimes we present one candidate to more positions. That's why it's like that. And finally, it ended up over these steps with 33 placements. So when we translate it into one placement, this recruiter needs to do 7 interviews to get that one placement. But of course, this recruiter is supplied by the sourcers. This is one of his sourcers, Teresa. Over 260,000 longlisted candidates, which finally led to 26 offers. But the question is, how many people, how many candidates Teresa needs to actually longlist to get that one higher? So when you put it next to each other, so this is Teresa, this is number of longlisted. One interview is generated from 19 longlisted people. So when we put it together, this is the sourcing part, this is the recruitment part, this is how we have divided our process. And when we say 19 times 7, we get 133 longlisted people. So now you know that for placing one role, for example, in this category, in this industry, etc., you need to longlist 133 people on the long list. And you have this exact information for the sourcer. You can predict things, etc. Because sourcer is kind of the sourcer cannot see the placement immediately after his or her work. So that's why you need to put it together. We actually measure quite a lot of things, including, for example, number of hours per sourcing per one role with amongst different teams and branches. So we can see that, for example, this branch or this team is spending 73 hours where, for example, another team is spending over 100 hours. So you can spot like more efficient teams, less efficient teams, calculate costs, etc. This is, for example, now you wonder, of course, that you would like to, for example, have this data as well. We just had a discussion with Adrian before this about the ATSs. That's actually one of the reasons why we started our own ATS when we started this business, because we knew that the technology which is on the market will not be suitable for us. So we are creating our own funnels. As you can see, this is a report which you can generate for a client, a recruiter, sourcer, branch, country, anything. And you see the funnels. Practically what you see right now, you can see average number of days until first contact, etc. You see everything. So you can totally manage the process, even for you, even if you are like working for yourself or you are kind of managing yourself, but of course for the team as well. Automate what can be automated. Number 4, I think you heard a lot about automation. If you think about robots, you maybe think of like robots, something like this. The reality is more like that the robots will look like this. This is actually the recent picture from our office. And all of these computers, there is a LinkedIn robot running. As you can see, it's LinkedIn Helper version 1, the Russian software I was using before. And because it's plug-in and I use like various LinkedIn accounts, it's actually running on 4 or 3 different computers. The front computer is my computer, and you can see Phantom Buster there. So maybe here in the Czech Republic, we have quite a special connection to the robots, because robot actually is a Czech word from 1920 from the Czech novelist. And there are a lot of I would say, robotics companies coming from the Czech Republic, including, for example, Integromat, which Adrian was showing in the previous webinar. So the thing is, how to like connect our work with the robots. Yeah, we can call it sourcing transhumanism, and it's just about be more efficient. Yeah, I usually say, like, when it's possible to automate it, why not to automate it? When it's a work for robot, why not to automate it? Like, do you want to do the work which robot can do instead of you? Yeah, probably not. So of course, Adrian, for example, was mentioning duck soup. Shelley was mentioning the new project from Microsoft. It kind of doesn't matter which tool you will use. You need to use a tool which will be suitable for you. As you can see here, colleague of ours just sitting while the robot actually is working for him, sending the invites. But then, of course, it's a question if you want to integrate it with, for example, Integromat, etc. The good thing about these tools is that usually you can actually customize it. Yeah. So, for example, I use more tools like Phantom Buster, etc. For example, for this purpose of sending, for example, invites, sending messages. It's not just about invites, but imagine there is no bulk functionality in LinkedIn, which you would be able to send, for example, 600 messages to your people in your network. Yeah, you can do that with emails, kind of one by one, or you can do that, for example, even with emails here with LinkedIn Helper version 2, which is a desktop app. It's not a plugin anymore, and it has some advantages, disadvantages. But definitely one advantage is that you can connect more LinkedIn accounts to one session, to one LinkedIn Helper on one computer, and you can manage, for example, 10 different LinkedIn accounts from one computer. Yeah, I don't say that you need to have 10 different LinkedIn accounts, but what I'm thinking, for example, is that you can dedicate one person at your company, for example, just to sourcing automation, and that person will be actually managing the LinkedIn account of other 10 employees towards their needs. Yeah. The problem is that, for example, what Adrian was showing, yeah, I totally admire it, I totally love this, etc. But if I imagine that we need to actually teach all of our sourcers, for example, this skill, I don't think it's realistic that all the people will actually have this skill. So we need to specialize. So that's why you can have someone like, for example, Adrian, who's skilled in that, and that this person can actually manage the automation for other people as well, which, for example, LinkedIn Helper is a great example where you can do it. On the other hand, of course, it's kind of I would say, high quality software where even if there are some problems, for example, when LinkedIn, I don't know if you remember my article about illegal LinkedIn plugins. So even if there is a problem, they switch off LinkedIn Helper, for example, for 2 weeks before they do some fixes, and they run again. So I'm not like, I'm using that even with my main account without any problems. What else can be automated? Imagine, for example, this is the thing we are working on right now. You know that I'm ambassador of these like video messages, which, for example, Marketa here, now we are doing that over Loom. Actually, now we use the Story Express, which is, I would say, it's totally same plugin, but it works better. Just technically, it works better. But the thing is that, of course, it's really time consuming. Imagine that Marketa, if she longlisted 50 people for some role, and she want to create the video message for all of them, she simply needs to do 50 different messages with different background, etc. I know that with Lemlist, etc., you can do these kind of screenshots, etc. But if you really want to do, for example, a customized message, it might be more complicated. There is a service which is called personalizart.com, actually also a Czech service. As I said, like, we are kind of a robot country. And here with this tool, you can actually create a video. You can place so-called placeholders in it, which can be customized. So then when someone opens the video, they, for example, see this this is the name of the person actually opened the video. This actually means capital city Prague. Yeah. So based on where you open the video, based on the geolocation of your, for example, mobile phone, it will also embed the location into the video. Yeah. So these things are already can happen. There are some other tools for that. I think the global tool is called Vidyard for the similar purpose, and we would like to integrate it into our ATS. So with, for example, click of the button, you will create actually the video message for the candidate, but customized for the candidate. So you can create, for example, 1,000 messages in 3 seconds. So other things you can actually automate. Of course, you can automate and you can do email sequencing. Adrian was mentioning Lemlist. We are using, for example, Mixmax here at Good Call. You can do semi-automatic reminders. So sometimes it's not about fully having like a full automation of the process, because maybe there is no suitable tool for that. It makes mistakes, etc. So you want to do like just semi-automation. And with, for example, followupthen.com, you can send a message to someone and you can put into the copy something like, for example, 4D or 4 days at followupthen.com. If the message is not replied, you will get a reminder. Yeah? So this is a form of automation which can really become your daily habit. Probably you know Calendly for automation of your scheduling of the screenings if you are a sourcer, or interviews if you are a recruiter. We mentioned, for example, LinkedIn Helper, Phantom Buster. Adrian was mentioning DuckSoup. I can mention also Robot.works as well for the similar purpose. You can automate posting of the content with Buffer or Contentino. I don't know if you know Lenpot. You can automate the engagement. So you can, for example, connect all your employees into a so-called pod within one company. And when you post something on LinkedIn, you can just put the post link to the post into the pod, and it will be automatically liked by all the other people within your company or within the pod, which can be anybody else. So you can have literally hundreds of likes just like that without actually asking those people, which there's no shame about it. Like you normally do that, but why not to automate it? You can automate search, for example, LinkedIn Safe Search alerts, which currently kind of disappeared from the free version of LinkedIn, but you can substitute them with Google alerts, or of course you can use, as you can see, for example, here this is our recruiter, and as you can see, our sourcers are really heavily using Safe Search alerts. It's part of our process, and you can see that the searches are really exhaustive, including some local terms, English terms, etc. Of course, depending on the location. And finally, of course, some more complex automations like with Integromat, Zapier, Apify, etc. All right, and finally, agile sourcing. This is also this is one of the things I'm speaking about maybe for 1 year, but of course, the last year was kind of down with the demand. Now we are all-time high. So of course, we are working on this. Back again, we are working with actually agile consultants on that as well, to kind of have some inspiration from this category. What's the problem? As I said, like, you can be the best sourcer in the world. You can have all these kind of checklists. You can use different kind of tools. For example, just one example, phonebook.cz. You can put there a domain name, and it will list you all the emails which could be found over Google. So of course, normally that's the work we did manually. We put a domain name into Google to see what's the pattern of the email at the company, for example. Now this can be done kind of automatically with this, but there are lots of these tools. I would mention Dean Da Costa created this list where literally there are, I don't know if over 400 or 500 of tools, LinkedIn networks, etc. Kind of sorted into these categories. So too many. But the thing is that imagine you as a sourcer, even if you go through this series of webinars where I know that Dima will be talking about some automation as well. I'm really looking for that. There are too many things you need, or what's kind of expected from you as a sourcer. It's searching, making long lists. So of course, be master with LinkedIn searching, Boolean searching, whatever other searching you can do on the platform, other platforms, Facebook, maybe aggregators like Amazing Hiring, etc. Then you need to find out more information about those people. So you need to be efficient with, for example, when you have someone on LinkedIn, so being able to quickly find out his or her GitHub profile, because, for example, you know that you will be referencing rather to GitHub profile than to LinkedIn, because you know that for IT people, it's actually increasing the response rate. Maybe it's approaching. Maybe we currently use Lucia back again. We use Swordfish. You can use these email hunters, for example, or any other something like this tools to find out the contact details. Then you need to have some knowledge about efficient approaching, which is, for example, the email sequencing, which might be, for example, the video approaching. Name sourcing, especially, for example, in engineering, in terms of like manufacturing engineering, our people, they are calling like kind of blindly to companies, and they say, for example, okay, give me the manager of logistics. We have no clue what's the name of the person. We just know that the person is probably there, something like that. So I would say a classic headhunting. Maybe some offline sourcing. Maybe it will be actually up to date again soon, maybe. But then the sourcing automation, and we don't even talk about inbound sourcing over your personal brand or over some digital marketing, etc. So it's simply quite a lot. So imagine the recruiter is kind of expecting all of these things from the 360-degree sourcer. It's kind of all the things apart from doing interview and managing the recruitment process from the client side or hiring manager side. It might be this as well, but still, if the recruiter has more sourcers, still usually those are 360-degree sourcers. Maybe you try to use like a hub. So you have, for example, also Adrian, they got people all over, but we got, for example, a hub where one person is leading the team and everything is going over that lead. But still, those people behind the lead they need to know everything, which is really tough. And with the complexity is growing, it's even tougher and tougher. So that's why the agile sourcing model, where, for example, the recruiter will be talking with sourcers, but those sourcers will be only sourcers doing approaching. So there will be another sourcer doing just long listing. The person will be skilled only in searching, knowing all the details of Boolean searching, X-ray searching, anything like that. Then there will be a sourcer, and he would be skilled just in automation, because that's kind of the boundaries which one person can actually grasp. We are not able to hire 100 people with the knowledge of Adrian, for example. That's not feasible on the market. So you need to work with people without this knowledge, but without like breaking down. We started with sources and recruiters. That we kind of break it in half, but now we need to break it down into smaller bits even more, which of course it's a potential for automation of some of those parts already as well. If you have a sourcer, like a function sourcer doing everything, it's really hard, and I would say it's not possible actually to automate it. So that's the end. So as you can see, so many choices. So maybe you say, of course, like where to start. Like we see these webinars about automation. We see webinars about like some future of sourcing, etc. Of course, everything is individual. It's also based on your kind of role in the team, role of your company. What's what's the market about, etc. Yeah, but of course, the difficult part is like to be skilled in all the things. Yeah, that's really hard, and that's what we see right here. And if you are kind of like scaling the team, you will see that you need to kind of change the process somehow, that you are not working only with A players. You need to be able to working with B players as well, but delivering A player service to your clients or hiring managers. All right, so that's all from me. That was kind of the 5 things I see in the market. I will not bother you with blockchain. That will be maybe for some future presentations, and there is some space actually for the new projects which are happening, not on the sourcing market, but let's say on the human talent, or let's say candidate market as well. So if you have any questions, of course, I'm here, or you can, of course, visit my LinkedIn profile, Facebook profile, Twitter profile, etc.
Awesome. Thank you so much, José. Awesome. So much content and so many topics. I definitely have a couple of questions. First, for me, because when I looked at your data, super interesting to see, that you can track it down from, what does the sourcer do and what does the recruiter do. Where's the handover point in your organization? So what does the source do, and when does the recruiter take over?
Usually the sourcer's job is finished by the screening and arranging interview with the recruiter. And the recruiter is taking the candidate from like the long, like normal interview, and of course to the next stages of the process. Maybe there are more interviews at the client side, etc. Yeah, so the sourcer is finished by the screening, because of course one thing is seeing LinkedIn profile, but the second thing is, of course, having the screen call, finding out not only the motivation but also the skill set. If for example, when we need a person with the German, of course we need to find out what's the language skills, etc. But it's actually finished. In general, it's finished with the arrangement of the interview with the recruiter.
So within your organization, the sourcer does the reach out, finds a candidate, and then still does like half an hour pre-screen call. And if that's good, then it goes to your internal recruiter that does a follow-up interview more on cultural fit. And if that's good, it goes to the client. Is that kind of
exactly,
like the
exactly, exactly like that. So we can say that, of course, we kind of change. This is still the same since the beginning of our organization, but sometimes it happened that, of course, recruiters kind of had vague knowledge about like how the sourcing on LinkedIn, etc., is done, because of course they have their own sources for that. But the problem is that when they have a new sourcers, etc., they need to know like and guide those people as well. So of course recruiters, and usually most of our recruiters are former sourcers at our organization, so they are skilled in that. But we have other person at our organization just managing sourcers from this like technical perspective. So this burden is not on the shoulders of recruiters, like to watch all the trends in sourcing, technical sourcing, etc.
Yeah. No, I can imagine. And that's kind of like the specialization that you also showed at the end, I guess, in terms of automation, in terms of who picks up what.
I think this is inevitable, because it's really, you can see, just take all the things from this series of webinars. Only few people are able to grasp.
No, fair enough. Hey, and you mentioned, which I found a very interesting statistic, is that the Czech Republic is the second to first most competitive market in that sense in the world, based on unemployment rates. So what do you see in terms of your sourcers? How are they still able to get candidates interested if the competition is so fierce? Like, what do you feel that you guys do differently, next to, of course, like a lot of tooling in that sense, to get people interested and at least have a conversation?
Yeah, sure. Like all the things, for me, it's kind of a numbers game. That's why I started with the numbers and everything like that. And of course, this is translated into each step of the sourcing. So of course you can take advantage, competitive advantage, starting with searching. And of course there is competition, and they are not able, for example, to find that many that relevant people on the market. So really it started with searching. So you need to be really able to do the exhaustive searching. That's why, for example, when I was talking about marketing, market mapping, doing the, for example, top 10 companies employing Python developers, because with this list, then you can, for example, go and you can be looking for Python developers without actually having Python, for example, on their profiles. And there are many of, so not just grabbing the low-hanging fruit, but actually you really need to go hardcore and find anybody even theoretically suitable on the market. So that's definitely one part, the searching part. The second part is the response rate. Of course, you cannot kind of change the offer. The offer is kind of done. That's the job proposition from the company. Sometimes you can do some adjustments, of course, but maximizing response rate is the second part. So that's why, for example, I think because of the unemployment rate, we maybe started one of the first here in the Czech Republic with the invitations, with the video invitations, because we saw a dramatic increase in response rate even for tech roles. For tech roles, normally we can have like 10 or 15% response rate for the classic invites, etc. But with this, we can go usually on average 60% response rate when you send a video invite.
Wow.
So this is the second one, and of course other things are, you can have two sourcers working for you for the same period of time, and one person will be simply better than the other. There are some natural things, how you talk with candidates, etc. But technically, I would say maximize the search, maximize the response rate, and do it as fast as possible. We are shrewd capitalists, so we don't need to waste time. We need to do it quickly.
Definitely. And for you, because that was one of the questions that came from the audience, and I think it's something that sources struggle with anywhere they go. Quantity versus quality, right? So how much do you automate versus how much do you go for personalization in that sense? What is your general outtake on that? Focus on super personalized messages in terms of finding a candidate, or can you just focus more on speed and go for larger volumes?
We were, for example, fighting with one, like from the managerial perspective, with the one attribute, and that was like presenting the first candidate. For us, from our perspective, mine and my co-founders, etc., it was like too long. Like, since we are able to deliver that one candidate to a client, so that's why, for example, we started kind of matching within our ATS. So you can kind of immediately, when you put there a role, of course, it's about quality of data as well. You need to have all the tags, etc. You need to have your database prepared for that. That's why we did a lot of cleaning, etc. But now, when you put, for example, the role into the ATS, it will automatically generate you, for example, 20 candidates suitable for the role. These candidates, maybe I would find them like quickly, but like normal sourcers at our organization, from the junior to let's say average and senior, it would take them hours and maybe days, for example, to do this list. So, for example, this is matching, one of the automation we actually built into ATS. But then I would say, in general, you need to judge the situation correctly. If you have 10 candidates and you really see that, I don't know, you are looking for Shopify developers. There are not so many like Shopify developers, especially in certain areas. So you will probably not send like automatic message for 10 people. It doesn't make sense. You will lose maybe more people. So the benefit is not there. You would rather sit down and do 10 different videos, customized videos, to maximize the response rate. But on the other hand, sometimes you see that there are hundreds of people like that. You see that the proposition is great, so it's about the time of delivering this proposition to the candidates. So you can take a chance and you can like do kind of a frontal attack and send 200 messages. we know that these tools like Linkit Helper, DuckSoup, sometimes they send a mess. Yeah, sometimes the variable is like if the person is commodity buyer hyphen looking for a new job.
Yeah. Awesome.
DuckSoup is stupid. It will put there the looking for the job, and so but what the hell? Yeah, we have other 199 people in the pipeline. So you need to judge the situation.
Yeah. Hey, do you in terms of your outreach, is your main focus on LinkedIn emails, or immediately calling? You find a phone number in that sense. What is your experience there?
Depending on the team, for example, in the manufacturing team, usually even their like primary reach out is that, for example, it can be some construction engineer, etc. So they see the profile, they pick up the phone and try to call him or her. Yeah. So they try the phone like this, and the secondary they send the message. Of course, this doesn't work for, let's say, software development. So we don't do that there, and we go over. Maybe the person is already in our database, so probably we have email, etc. But we do the classic thing like invitation, eventually a message, maybe in mail, but not all of our people actually got the link to recruiter.
Yeah.
So you need to kind of go with the with what the target audience is kind of expecting, right?
Yeah. No, fair enough. Hey, José, I'm just about time. We have 2 minutes left. What are you working on there right now? I mean, there's so many topics in that sense. Like, what are you super excited about right now that you're working on?
Actually, like still too many things I work on, but I'm preparing some content for social talent. So I kind of took over talent sourcing for social talent. So we are delivering, like, I would say, next generation videos. Yeah. So that's definitely currently one part of my work. We are preparing some, because we started the Recruitment Academy. Maybe you saw some videos from our Recruitment Academy Awards, where we do kind of like Recruiter of the Year, etc. And we have these certifications behind that as well. So now I'm thinking everything is scalable. So even the education must be scalable. So we are kind of transforming even these Recruitment Academy products into this. And on the good call side, it's definitely, for example, about these agile things, how to be even more efficient. And to be honest, currently it's about that we need to hire more people into our organization. We need to hire more recruiters, but those bastards are expensive now.
Someone made the joke. It's easier. Yeah, someone made the joke. It's easier to find a female engineering manager than senior recruiters these days.
With the demand for IT people is increasing, the same is for the recruiters. So we are hiring a lot for ourselves as well, and for the Datacruit as well. We are looking for developers into Datacruit and thinking some new, of course, implementing some new clients, etc. But thinking some of these new features I mentioned here, with, for example, the reports and matching, etc.
Cool. José, thank you so much. Really enjoyed your
My pleasure, always.
Yeah, we will share the recording, of course, and also the slides if you're okay with that.
Absolutely.
And I hope to see everyone next week again.
Yeah, definitely. Ciao, everybody. If you have any questions, just let me know.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.